Hey there guys, it's Metro, and today I'm here to tell you guys a little bit about why 7.2 is not only a great patch for everyone, but easily the best patch ever to return to the game and get all caught up. A lot of people are saying some things that strike me as odd about 7.2, but regardless, what should be noted is that no matter who or where you are in the video game, you now have an unprecedented number of ways to catch your character up to power levels that used to take months and months of effort prior to this patch. I'm talking about things that will catch your character up to an appropriate item level ready for Mythic Nighthold, not even normal or heroic, and get more artifact power per hour than you ever could have before the patch. On top of this, our characters were essentially caught up to the power of 54 traits prior to the patch, something that a lot of people thought was an insurmountable hill to climb unless you constantly did 5-mans all day. And one of the biggest valid criticisms of Legion so far is that if you didn't continue to play since the start, you are often found very far behind of somebody who did. While I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing in this video game, it can be very daunting for somebody who doesn't have hours a week to play or even can't play for multiple weeks on end. So let's talk about how they fix this. They've essentially done it with two small changes that go an incredibly long way. Number one is Mythic Plus. This is a lot more shallow change than the second one, but is way more impactful. Mythic Plus had its difficulty and gearing changed, and this was essentially a net buff in the terms of reward. They added 25 item levels to the reward, but the dungeons hardly feel any harder, basically because players have essentially gained power with all the new traits on top of Artifact Knowledge 26. This alone makes Mythic Plus farming much more adequate and able to reward good gear from an easier base level. You now get 905 from completing a plus 10 at the end of the week, but you get 890 from actually doing dungeons as well. So farming 10s is very lucrative for undergeared characters or characters that are returning to the game. The second thing you'll want to do to catch your character up to about 900 item level is farming mobs from the portals underneath the Centenax ship in the Broken Shore. You'll get tons of materials and bloods, as I discussed in the previous video, and in an hour with a focused and prepared 5-man group, I'm able to get about 7.5k Nether shards. That's enough to buy 3 relinquished items in 2 hours. That's 3 880 baseline items. The kicker is that unlike previous catch-up gear, these items can become seemingly anything that exists in the game currently. This may get nerfed in the future or simply be a bug, but as of now, I was able to get multiple pieces from all different 5-mans, making this nearly as efficient as Mythic Plus of actually getting strong gear, especially trinkets. For reference, I received a trinket from Morose in Karazhan and from Odin in Halls of Valor, both warforged up to 885. You can also get specific legendaries from these, which is extremely good on alts that have none or few, or characters that have stored up bad luck protection on the off-spec, which was also added in 7.2. For example, I haven't gotten a protection one as I've been playing Holy the whole expansion on my Paladin. The first item I buy was the best in slot legs. You can also get relics, as they can be anything as well, meaning you can get 3 of your BIS relics from just farming these mobs, something that cannot be done from any other single source of gear. On top of this, the pieces still have a chance to Titan Forge. This means you can theoretically be in full best in slot gear without ever entering a raider dungeon. As it stands, you can get over 890 item level with these pieces alone and 2 legendaries, perhaps closer to over 900. And as a side thing, we just found out, I would like to mention that you can indeed get tier gear as well. All of this sounds good, but it's even better because of how stats work in this expansion too. Characters at 800 item level are about 10 times weaker than 900, and this is the largest gap we have ever traversed in this short a period. So we are talking about exponential character power in a single 3-hour window. That's a gap that used to take months and months of character progression. Also, a character at say 850 item level compared to 900 item level has about half of the amount of secondary stat values. And even after the changes they made in 7.1 and 7.5, they continue to scale incredibly well for every damage dealer especially. In terms of artifact power, you will get plenty from farming Mythic Plus keys, but also you'll get a fair amount from Nether shard farming, as the amount of mobs you kill often equals many of the world drops like History of Aeons, etc. This all may seem like overkill and overpowered, but remember, patch 7.2 also contains a raid, which we're still multiple months away from. It will contain gear that is much stronger than anything that could come from this, and anything that could come from Nighthold especially. We will all likely be well over 950 by by the time it's over, and this gear will once again be 60 to 80 item levels lower than anything in there from the highest difficulty. Regardless, you should take advantage of the new artifact knowledge system as well to get your characters through your new traits, farm nether shards for huge upgrades in a very short window, and use those huge upgrades to push plus 10 mythic plus keys for 890s and higher thanks to Titan Forging. This will all inevitably feel like the grind again in 4 to 5 months from now, but take this opportunity for what it's worth. You have an unprecedented catch-up mechanic in front of you, and you could finally stop saying, I quit because there's no way I'll catch up to my friends.